We can beat anybody. We just haven't been doing it. Udonis Haslem said that, and I'm saying this. Welcome to High and Low. Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Basketball Podcast. This is episode number 100 and Ben, aka episode number 125. 25 is a number that was worn by Ben Simmons, former Sixer and current Brooklyn resident, the son of Dave and Julie Simmons. He's since abandoned number 25 for the number 10. New situation, new number. Ben is healthy in body and mind, and he's ready to get back to top form. So we'll just leave it at that. Let's see where Ben finishes up in the season. Number 10. Ben is 10. Ben 10. Hey, real-time situation right here. I just realized that it's Ben 10. Anyway, my name is Ike Amaechi, and I'm joined by Sean Khan the Don, a.k.a. Sean Solo, and Ugo the Sheik. You got to earn the iron back, buddy. Back from his self-imposed exile, his sabbatical.
All good.
Welcome back, man. Around here, we live by the principle governed by the high and low lives of the world. And, that means that we talk about basketball, especially and specifically the NBA. And we talk about it at any time, anywhere, north, south, east, west, high and low. You know the drill. This week on High and Low, we're dropping tears. No. I'm not talking about the salty discharge expressed from the eyes of those who have been victimized by my version of the sham god. We're placing teams in different tiers going into this season. What are the mid-tier teams? Who are your upper-tier teams? Who are the elite top-tier squads this year, the top contenders? We'll get into that shortly. Stay tuned for that. Before we lock in, let me check in. We're recording this episode earlier in the week than usual because I'll be on a plane to the West Coast by this time in a couple of days, actually tomorrow. If anything happens that can be considered world-changing or catastrophic after we record, well, please excuse the omission. Since we bring you episodes every week, we had to make a few changes to the schedule to ensure the streak continues without interruption. And thank you, Sean and Ugo, for adjusting your schedules just to accommodate, just to be on this episode. And Ugo, welcome back to the podcast. Applause.
Mm-hmm.
Applause.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed with the shit talk that you guys had, so I had to come back and keep my eye on you guys.
So it worked. It worked. You took the bait.
Whatever. Don't worry, man. I'm adjusting my lipstick right now.
Thank you for creeping up my night.
Oh,
Jesus be with you.
Lean in. Listen, man. Last week, we had listeners expressing concern over your whereabouts. Actually, okay, I don't know. Maybe I went too far by saying the word concern. But they definitely had questions. They had questions about you, man. They were, a listener was asking his question, and it was revolving around where you were. But hey, Sean stepped in, and did an amazing job explaining your absence. Great explanation, Sean the Don, Sean Solo. Especially the lipstick, man. Great touch.
I think they're concerned now after the explanation.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did add a name on the list now, so I'll leave that to you to guess. But I've been paying attention while I've been in my self-imposed solitude, so to speak. Well done. I was actually quite pleased to see that the team carried on well in my absence. Carmelo's back, and I'm here to make sure that we have no more success.
Wow.
That's in honor of their Jeremy Lin documentary.
Indeed. You see, this is why we miss Ugo around here. Hey, Ugo, Sean, I appreciate the time this week. Thank you for joining me. Really, thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for joining us for yet another installment of the High and Low Basketball Podcast. Another week, another episode, more NBA, some more High and Low. This week in NBA history, the league lost its stilts on October 12th, 1999. Hall of Famer and one of the greatest players to ever touch a basketball, the Big Dipper, the conqueror of concubines, Wilt Chamberlain, passed away at the age of 63. 63, that's young. That's quite young. It's incredible to think that Wilt's been gone for 23 years. 23 years, man. Time flies. Respectfully, given Wilt's reputation as a prolific scorer on and off the court, do you think an illegitimate child of his has made it to the NBA in the last 23 years, 30 years, 35?
I think one just got signed by the Raptors.
Oh,
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's like
Really?
Otto Porter is his exact lookalike. Is he not?
Michael.
You know what? I think you're right.
He has to be.
I'm
sure of it.
side by side. It's an uncanny resemblance. But you think that he'd be better than Otto Porter Jr., right?
It's probably happened a few times that we just don't know about. Like this, come on, man! All those stories about NBA players, sowing their oats, so to speak. Come on, man! Well, like it's got to be a couple of that just slipped through. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. I mean, hey, Jalen Rose, son of Jimmy King, former Detroit Piston.
What did you say?
Yeah.
Sorry, not Jimmy King.
Because Jimmy King
Not
played
Jimmy
with
King.
Jalen Rose in the Fab Five.
Yeah, wrong dude.
The math doesn't work out there.
Yeah.
Plays with his father in college.
Kind of gross.
In college.
That's gross. That's so gross.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what's his name? Jimmy
Walker.
Jimmy Walker. That's right.
Jimmy Walker.
Jimmy Walker. Anyway,
Jalen was a
yeah,
better
Wilt
player.
has to have more.
It's happened in like the entertainment world with Liv Tyler and Steven Tyler. That's the only kind of thing I can think of.
Is she illegitimate?
Well, yeah, they didn't know they were related, I believe, until like she was an adult, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, and she took his name.
I think so, as her screen name, maybe.
But that's not what this podcast is about.
Yeah, we've gone through the scandalous phase of this podcast where we're talking about Ime Udoka, Nia Long, and all that stuff. Man, let's move past it.
Oh, that was I wish I was there for that. I'm so tempted.
Anyway, that's a little something for the NBA history nerds. Things are certainly happening in the NBA, so let's talk about it.
Let's talk about something
We have
important.
a listener question this week. It is from Landis in Huntington Beach, California. Landis, are you sneaking around our Discord? Because I don't know how you came up with this question, because this was circulating in our Discord for sure. The question is this: would you rather earn $500,000 a year as an NBA mascot, or would you rather earn the same as an assistant coach in the WNBA?
I had to laugh at this because there's no way an assistant coach in the WNBA is making $500,000 a year. I feel like that's a whole team salary cap.
God. Which is true.
How did Derek Fisher make $5 million a year as a coach in the WNBA?
Listen, he made it off his name, man. Like,
His name,
there's no value in there, man.
He's
I mean,
sold tickets.
average salary
Exactly.
$60K,
Yeah, man.
and the coach is making $5 million a year. Wow.
That's embarrassing for your league.
That's the demographics, man.
Like, I mean, if you're Fisher and you're looking at your barely able to buy a meal players and you're making $6 million a year, I don't know, man. That's something wrong there.
Derek Fisher could use his salary to pay for players, like literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His salary is probably probably twice as much as the roster, so he could go out and get like Candace Parker, be like, "Yo, I got $1 million. Come play for me this season."
Yeah.
Right? Should be the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah. Forfeit a portion of your salary.
Exactly. If he has incentives in that contract, if he wins championships, might be just coming out even. It's like, yeah, man, I'll drop $1 million to get $1.5 million back.
And how do the players not resent him to a certain degree either?
It's Derek Fisher. He's Hall of Famer. What are you going to say to him?
He's not a Hall of Famer, is
Well,
he?
not Hall of Famer. Sorry,
I
my
think he's a
mistake. Laker Hall of Famer. Sorry,
Maybe a
Laker
Hall
Hall
of
of
Famer,
Famer.
not a Hall of Famer.
We were talking about the next team we would like to see in like an HBO series or something like that. I would actually like to see not necessarily a scripted series, but maybe like a behind the scenes look at what the Sparks looked like when Derek Fisher was making $5 million a year,
Yeah.
and you had players who couldn't even ride. They had to fly coach
They were forced to fly.
on a $60,000 annual salary.
There's no way Derek Fisher is getting on that plane.
Exactly. He's like, I'm going to fly over private.
He's like, shoot, I could at least afford economy. I ain't doing this.
Oh man, the amenities. Anyway, I'd rather be the mascot, making $500K.
Really?
Man, at least I'm in the NBA.
You're a mascot in the NBA. That doesn't count.
The only thing about that is that like you have to get in to that nasty mascot uniform, sweating in it night after night. I don't think I'd want to do that.
That's too much
Oh, so
exercise.
you rather sit on the bench in the WNBA?
I think so.
I'm getting paid the same?
Sure, $500,000. Yeah,
Bro, coach, you
next,
can take
next to
coaching
Derek
anywhere.
Fisher.
You could take coaching anywhere. Okay, so what besides Derek Fisher? You're still making the same, doing all this acrobatic stuff, sweating in some suit that nobody's allowed to see your face. Who are you, the Mandalorian?
Man, I listen. If you are sitting on the bench on a WNBA squad as an assistant coach, not the head coach, assistant coach, I'd love to be next to you when you go to dinner parties and people are like, "Hey, what do you do?"
I'm a male.
I ain't ashamed to coach. I'm coaching, bro. There's nothing wrong with that. This man tried to tell me I gotta be ashamed to be a coach. Man, that ain't gonna happen. I'm coaching. Call me Ted Lasso or whatever, man.
The one thing I will say
man.
is that as a mascot, I guarantee you $500K is your ceiling. If you're an assistant coach in the WNBA making $500K, you're probably on the right track and could get a higher paying job in the NBA maybe at some point.
Good points. Good points all around. I'm usually the one that's caping for the WNBA. How did this work out? Anyway, all right. Landis, thank you for your question. You putting us in soup, man. You putting us in that hot soup, having to compare the WNBA to the NBA. Stop it. We're not doing that anymore. Anyway, just another reminder to High and Low Lives, if you want to leave a question, just like Landis did, hey, drop a DM on TikTok at More High and Low, Instagram at Get High and Low. Links are in the show notes. Anyway, we'll be right back with a little more High and Low. This moment is brought to you by me, Ike Amaechi. Yeah, I'm currently on my own little West Coast swing as you listen to this. One of the places we've visited is Vancouver, British Columbia, man. Shout out to all my people in Vancouver, BC. Beautiful city just north of Seattle for our American listeners. We went out for dinner at a few spots around Vancouver, but Arike, not a sponsor, Arike. I'm just mesmerized by what happened. Okay, so I got to talk about Arike. Oh my days. Arike. This is an incredible spot, this restaurant that serves high-end Nigerian cuisine, but it's like you've never tasted. If you've had the pleasure of eating Nigerian food, you never had it like this before. If you've never had it before, Arike is a great place to start, maybe too good. They made us jollof rice, famous West African dish, and they managed to elevate the plate by topping it off with this succulent braised goat. I didn't know you could braise goat meat like this. Anyway, this is a basketball podcast. What am I doing? It's not food criticism, but I couldn't help myself. Again, Arike, Arike. Do yourself that favor. Check them out, man. I'm definitely going back next time I'm in Vancouver. Maybe I'll meet you there. Anyway, let's get back to High and Low. And we are back. I'm Ike Amaechi, and I'm here with Sean Khan and Ugo, the Sheik. You got to start another streak to earn the iron back in your name. But I know you're working on it.
That's all good. It's all good.
The new NBA season is upon us, so you're probably going to be inundated with Eastern and Western Conference previews, preseason power rankings, predictions, prognostications, and it's great because fans of the game are excited to see their favorite teams, their favorite players take to the floor for yet another campaign. we're certainly excited to see how all the player and personnel movement will affect the standings. Who's risen, who's fallen. This can be represented in NBA tiers. We can't be bothered getting into the rankings. It's a lot of work. But we can break the league down in tiers and see where these teams land. Around here, we recognize 4 tiers, similar to the NBA class system, as we've discussed on previous episodes. The difference is that this is about the performance on the floor rather than the financial capital and influence of a franchise. So we'll start with the bottom tier. We'll work our way up to the top tier. So let's start with Ugo. What teams are in your bottom tier this year?
OKC, because they ain't never trying. Houston, because they've been historically bad. Sacramento, I don't even know why they're even still in the league. They should be demoted to the WNBA.
Wow.
Orlando, only because they got good weather. Well, not recently after that hurricane. So yeah, Orlando.
All right, stop before I throw up.
Portland and Detroit.
Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna differ here.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, what's your bottom tier here?
So I have the Kings, the Knicks, the Wizards, the Pistons, the Jazz, the Spurs, the Pacers, the Magic, the Thunder, and the Rockets. I don't have Portland in this tier.
Yes. In a similar vein, I have Sacramento, Washington, Houston, Utah, OKC, Detroit, San Antonio, Indiana, and Orlando.
So I have the Knicks, and you don't have the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't have the Knicks in there. I feel like the Knicks, the Knicks. I feel like some of that Thibodeau magic is going to happen.
We'll see. What didn't happen last year?
No.
All right, you guys, what's next?
Ugo, who's your mid-tier?
Oh, mid-tier. Sorry. Yeah. So I went New York Knicks, Cleveland, Dallas, New Orleans, Utah, Nets, Spurs, and I struggled with putting the Lakers here, but I'll put them in here for now and let people get mad like a particular special guest.
I'm surprised you had Dallas, a conference finalist last year, in that second lowest tier.
That team is
What
not
to say?
good. That team is
What?
not good. That 90% of that team is Luka. That team's not good. I'm sorry,
Okay.
they're mid-tier.
That's not necessarily
Wow.
wrong, but that still puts
Luka-
them pretty high up there. Okay, so my mid-tier, I don't have a lot of teams in my mid-tier. I have the Lakers. I have Portland by a hair. I think they have some young talent. I think defensively they've gotten a lot better. I have Charlotte if Bridges can get the Chargers dropped. If not, they get dropped into the lower tier.
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom,
Well played.
I got the Pels from New Orleans in there, and I'm sorry to say, but I have the Atlanta Hawks in there as well.
Yes.
They conference finalists 2 years ago, but they took a big step back last year. They're still okay. They just, I feel like they're just lacking something defensively and something from a chemistry standpoint. Trey needs to be a number 2 scorer. I think they need someone like a superstar there to really catapult them into a number tier.
Wow,
but,
you just broke the internet, man.
No,
Trey needs to be a second, like the second option.
I mean, if Trey's your first option, you're a mid-tier team.
Whoa.
Right.
What about if you bring in a guy behind Trey who can basically do it on both ends?
I don't like that high volume, high risk shot on an every game basis. Like, he's not Steph Curry, right? Like, he's gonna shoot. He's gonna play the same way as Steph Curry, but he's gonna shoot 44%, where Steph is gonna shoot 52%. So I think it matters, and I think we're gonna see that throughout Trey's career if he continues to be the number 1 scorer on his team. I don't think he is bound to have a lot of future playoff success.
Okay.
Yikes.
I'm not trying to disagree because I have Atlanta in the mid tier as well, just because I think they regressed last year. But I feel like they're one of those teams that are on the cusp, and it all depends on the next couple of moves that they make. I feel like they can easily slide up to that upper tier, but it all depends on what DeJounte Murray does. I feel like last year Hunter was assigned the toughest defensive assignment every single night. He had to chase guards, he had to chase wings, sometimes he had to chase bigs. This year with DeJounte Murray, I think that now that kind of frees Hunter up to just guard the next wing, or like he can basically share that assignment with DeJounte Murray, who's a very good defender, a plus defender. So yeah, I don't know. I think it makes a difference. I think it makes a difference. Anyway,
they're definitely on the cusp, and like you said, 2 years ago they were a conference finalist. I think they should have traded John Collins like right after that series because he's regressed. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they had an opportunity to get another piece by trading Collins. Might have been better for both sides if that happened. But I think they dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, it's weird. I think John Collins has been on the trading block for like a year and a half.
Yeah,
it's just strange. Anyway, that's Atlanta. I have Atlanta in the mid tier. I agree with you. I also have the Cleveland Cavaliers in the mid tier. I feel like they're also a team on the cusp, but I really need to see what Donovan Mitchell does playing with not just one big like he did in Salt Lake City, but two bigs now. I got the Knicks, the Hornets. I have the Trailblazers as the mid. I have the Lakers, Pelicans, and I have the Bulls. I mean, despite their best efforts last season, they still have too many question marks to be considered an upper tier team. They're at the top. I feel the top of the mid, in my opinion. I think, again, they're just like the Hawks, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers. I feel like they're on the cusp, but it all depends on a healthy Lonzo. I think if Lonzo is out long term, I just feel like it takes away from their defense, and that's what they need. They don't have that balance. They're all offense, which basically turns the season into a sprint, and they will lose steam because they just have a few too many guys that just aren't healthy long enough. They're just not. Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely struggle with them too. I had them right on the cusp as well, but I didn't put them in this tier. But like thinking about it more and more, every team in the tier above them, I could potentially see winning a playoff series. I cannot see the Bulls winning a playoff series.
Yes, exactly.
All right, you guys, what's next?
All right, Ugo, what's your upper tier team? Your upper tier.
Is it upper or good?
Good, but I would say upper because we have a top tier.
Oh, top. Sorry, I'm changing the acronyms. Okay, so my good, or by your list, your upper is I got Miami, Boston, the Clippers, Raptors, Phoenix, Chicago. I put in here, Denver, and the 76ers.
Wow. Now Ugo's breaking the internet.
That's disrespect.
My top tier is very select.
Disrespect.
Very select. Come on, man. We're talking this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So who come on. Okay. Let's see what happens. I'm not even going to say a word. Receipt. I want a receipt for tonight. That's what I want.
Sean, who's in your upper tier?
If they didn't make the finals last year, I might have agreed with you, but I think you still have to give them that respect.
I want my receipt, man.
In my upper tier, I'll start at the bottom with Chicago. I put Cleveland in there. They were a really fun team to watch in terms of like how they improved last year. I still feel like they're really well coached. I hope Bickerstaff isn't kind of that like flash in the pan 1 year, success story as a coach. I really hope he can continue it long term. I think adding, an all-star caliber player like Donovan Mitchell should help them maintain this upper tier kind of caliber level. So I'm putting Cleveland there. I got Brooklyn in this tier as well. I got Minnesota in this tier. I got Toronto. I got Phoenix. I mean, if it was going to happen for Phoenix, it would have happened already. I feel like they're even lucky to be in this tier after losing to an Australian team. I got Miami, Philly, and then to round it out, I got the double Ds in Denver and Dallas.
Wow. Big difference. I mean, I have similar teams in my upper tier. I have, Toronto, Phoenix, Miami, Mavericks, Nuggets, the Brooklyn Nets, Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, Dallas, you have to account for the fact that they made the conference finals last year. They lost Jalen Brunson, yes, but hey, they gained Christian Wood, a guy who had no idea that he wasn't going to start. But hey, it might put him in a great position to win the Six-Man Award this year. Plus, they get a full season of Spencer Dinwiddie this year. He was a midseason pickup last year and played really well for them in the playoffs. They broke even to me. They broke even while other teams improved. But I still think they're an upper tier squad just because they have a top tier player in Luka. The Nuggets are similar to Cleveland in the mid tier. I just think they're on the cusp. I think they're poised to be an elite team, but it all hinges on the health of their second and third best players. Brooklyn's in this upper tier because, well, they got KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. But beware of the drama. That could influence things. Phoenix, I agree with you, Sean. I think, but if it was going to happen, it would have already happened. And I just think that the things happening with ownership, you'll be surprised at how some of these things actually affect team morale. And that could cost them a couple of wins, which can make a huge difference between being a top tier team and being an upper tier team. Raptors, just a great team. Just a team of really good basketball players. And then I got Minnesota down at the bottom of this tier. But just because they've got Gobert. I know Steven would hate this, but Gobert makes a difference.
All right, you guys, what's next?
Top tier, our last tier, and Ugo, your teardrop.
Yeah, so I made mine very, very, very small. So Bucks, Golden State Warriors, Grizzlies, and a team that should be there but probably won't be there. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves in that position.
You have the Minnesota Timberwolves as a top tier team.
They should be a top tier team. So that's
wow.
There's an asterisk on that one.
All right, so listen, why don't you give me a call when you want to start taking things a little more seriously?
And he didn't even rank the Clippers, so they're lower than the lowest tier?
Clippers.
Oh, yeah, Clippers in last year? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
They were in the upper, not in the top.
Okay. Minnesota is a big surprise. I mean, I see why you did it in terms of like their roster and the upside, but you just got to do it for me first.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But you're taking a risk with that one. That's okay.
Yeah. I live a little dangerously every once in a while.
Exactly. All right, Sean.
So yeah, spoiler alert. I had the Clippers in my top tier. Something wants me to kind of like they're my dark horse team to win it this year. I think if you can call them a dark horse. I think if Kawhi is healthy, and you probably agree with this too, but they're serious contenders if Kawhi is healthy. Yeah. And PG obviously needs to be healthy as well. But if those two can put it together, watch out NBA, because Kawhi could be a man on a mission again this year. I got the Grizzlies as well. There's too much young talent there, and they're only getting better. If Ja can stay healthy, I expect another deep playoff run. I put the Celtics up there as well. I know I said they might have a hangover type season, but you still have to put this team in the upper tier until they show that they don't belong. I feel like they kind of pulled a Dallas Dallas. I think you said that they kind of stayed put. They didn't get any worse, and they did add a decent piece in Brogdon, who I think at worst will help them maintain their level from last season. I don't think he's going to tip the scales too much either way, but he'll help them maintain it. And then my top two teams in the NBA this year, I got the Bucks and the Warriors for obvious reasons.
Yeah, Bucks and Warriors. Those are the two top teams in my opinion as well. Rounding out the top tier for me, I also have the Clippers, and I agree with you. A healthy Kawhi adds a whole new dimension to this Clippers team. And we saw this Clippers team win, 42 games last year? And we talked about Kawhi last week. He's just the X factor. This is a guy that can single-handedly swing any game, any series in his team's favor. And a team that's led by a healthy Kawhi Leonard should always be considered a contender. Always. We've just seen too much of Kawhi winning in the last 10 years for us not to think that. I also have the 76ers. Embiid and Harden are just two of the best scorers in the league. Dominant. Embiid is dominant. However, Harden and Tyrese Maxey, they're just defensive liabilities that will just be exposed by any other team in this tier. So I put them in the middle of this group. But I also have the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizz got next, man. But I just have them on the cusp. They're towards the bottom of this tier. I could easily see them dropping with injuries. I mean, Jaren Jackson is already out. As I mentioned last week, Ja is box office, but he's not invincible. Regardless, it's a great team. They've proven to us that they can win. They can actually win without their best player on the floor, which is amazing. But yeah, Memphis Grizzlies, man. And the Boston Celtics. Let's not forget about the Boston Celtics. But I don't put them as a title contender. I don't know. I just think Ime Udoka's suspension will affect this team more than we think.
I don't know if I said these two teams, but I have Philly and Miami in not the upper tier not in the top tier, in the upper tier. I don't disagree with anything that you said. I think Maxey is incredible. But defensively he's kind of a liability. I just think I need Harden to be the Houston James Harden for this team to be taken seriously. They looked really bad in the second round of the playoffs last year. Yeah. And Harden specifically looked really bad.
As usual, like this guy, every playoff, when his team needs him, he
disappears, man.
Yeah. Disappears.
You're not going to see Houston Harden. He doesn't have that type of body anymore.
Exactly. And then that's why I don't think this team is really a contender. And then Miami, like as much as I love them and I love Jimmy Butler, I just kind of similar vein to Phoenix. I feel like if they were going to do it, it would have happened already. They seem like they're trending the wrong direction, but that team is so gritty and so tough that they could surprise me and all of a sudden be a contender again. So we'll see.
Yeah, you can't count out Miami.
You know what my problem with Miami is? Look at Miami over the last 2 years. Have they actually gotten better?
No, but they've done this for like 3 or 4 years in a row now where they're like amazing, and then they were like a first round playoff exit, and then they're amazing again, and then they're a first round playoff exit. So I feel like with them, it's just like old men that need to like a year to like rest after a long playoff run, and then they're good for another year, and they might have one more back and forth in them.
The problem with them is their shooter and their other shooter are just, they're liabilities, man. Like you literally can't have them on the court at any time unless they're like on a hot streak. Because if they're not on a hot streak, they kill your plus minus within seconds. You know what I mean? Like Hero, kudos for being sixth man of the year award, all that other jazz, but he can't defend to save his life. And then Duncan Robinson, like you could see Spoelstra just frustrated when this guy is on the court. Like it's a what's that, like that? What's that Butch Carter line about certain players? You can't or can't won't. And Duncan Robinson is one of those, like, he can't play defense because he can't play defense.
Yeah.
He's horrible, man. Like Like, I would be like, bro, don't even try. Just grab somebody. It's really just half the time anyway.
It's already happened. I mean, Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, those are two players that have just gobbled up Duncan Robinson's minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And Miami seems to do this, not just in the last 3 to 4 years, but they just seem to be doing this. They've seemed to be doing this for the last 10 years, where they can just make the most out of players who have kind of been cast off, forgotten, guys who are playing in the G League or playing overseas or, picked in the second round. Like Duncan Robinson, yes, we understand that he just has his defensive deficiencies. But a couple years ago, people were like, Duncan Robinson, like, is this one of the best shooters in the NBA? Yep. And this guy was plucked out of Michigan obscurity, and they just turned him into an offensive weapon. Defensively, there's still a lot to be desired there. But, I feel like if there's one team that can regroup and rebuild quickly, it's Miami. Yeah. The only problem is they just need to let Udonis Haslem go. This guy, what are you doing?
I just feel like he makes everyone else around him older.
Yes. Some people make everyone around them better. This guy just makes everyone older.
So you know what I don't get about I don't mind that they re-sign him. I really don't. What I don't understand is, why does he still dress up like he's going to play? He should just wear a suit or something. You know how you see some dudes like that, you ain't playing, so they just wear like whatever, right? Like, he's not really a player at this point. Maybe an honorary player or something like that. I don't know. But why are you dressing up?
I think he had more fouls than minutes last year.
Yeah, he got. What was it? A couple years ago, where he got into a fight in the very last game of the year, and those were the most minutes he played all year, and just basically got kicked out.
That's classic.
Like, come on, what are we doing here?
That's got to be Guinness. That's got to be the Guinness Book of World Records.
I mean, I get it, but like, you're wasting a roster spot, and you are a team, like you said, that can find these, like, pluck out these diamonds in the rough and, like, develop players. So I don't know. It just seems like a weird decision, but I get it from a team kind of respect / leadership position, but I wouldn't do it personally.
You know what's also funny? They'll never waive him.
No.
Right? Like, you do all these moves, and he's at the end of your bench, and you're like, he stays.
It's, how mad are you if you're a guy that got cut by the Miami Heat?
Seriously.
Right?
And you are clearly better than UD.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that they re-signed him this year. It's not like he's playing out a contract. They gave him a new contract.
It's absolutely classic. He's an enigma. That's all.
How much is he making this year? Because he made $2.6 million.
I think
last
that's
year.
The veteran minimum is like 2.4 or something. So,
oh my goodness! You know when Udonis Haslem peaked? 2008. What? This guy.
Oh god!
This guy had 12 points and 9 rebounds. And like
that's it.
Wow.
That's it.
It was 15 years ago.
No,
almost 15 years ago, man.
He peaked out Florida.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, I think it's
Maybe he has to know where all the skeletons are. Like, he has to.
All right, those are our tiers. Teardrops, high and low teardrops.
Why the fuck I can't shoot 3-point shot?
That brings us to the end of this episode of the High and Low Basketball Podcast. So thank you, Ugo. Thank you, Sean. Subscribe to High and Low anywhere you find podcasts and make us a part of your weekly routine. You know where to find us. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Links to those are in the show notes. So where can listeners find you, Sean Solo?
You guys can still find me on Instagram at Sean_controversy. And you can find me on Twitter at controversy.
Nice. 2 ads. No, just
I had to add a little bit of pause in there so you didn't think I was stuttering.
Emphasize the ad. And Ugo, the Iron Sheik of High and Low. Where can they find you?
You can't find me because I'm going to be hopping through the multiverse where I do a similar NBA podcast, but it's without any of you guys, but some very beautiful, large-breasted women. So yes.
Wow.
So yeah, so you won't find me probably until at least opening night of the NBA or somewhere around that.
What just happened there?
It's been a while, folks.
This guy's breaking the podcast. Let's welcome back, Ugo. Oh man. All right. Well, on that note, music is by Live of the Enjoy Music Group. You can find Live on Twitter and on Instagram at LYVE. Additional music is by Sonny Rockwell of The Goodness. Can't find that guy anywhere. Maybe he's somewhere in the multiverse with those women that Hugo was referring to. Who knows? Sound design is by Vaughn August. This is a Vaughn Abraham podcast, just in case you didn't know. So on behalf of Hugo the Iron Sheik and Sean Khan, a.k.a. Sean Solo, I'm Ike Amaechi. Thank you for listening to High and Low. We'll see you next week.
Apologies for the Udonis Haslem tangent.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
That's what pops out. That's what
Talking about Udonis Haslem.